My name is Jessica Miller. I'm 34, and before I say anything serious, can we all agree that marriage is the only place where someone can get mad at you for breathing too loudly? No, seriously, you can chew wrong. You can close a cabinet too aggressively. You can exist incorrectly. If you've ever been in a relationship, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Back then, I used to laugh about things like that. I thought those little annoyances were normal, harmless, even funny. I didn't know they could turn into something else. Something heavier, something that slowly changes you. I met my husband, Daniel, at a grocery store in Chicago. Not romantic at all, right? I was standing in the cereal aisle, debating between two boxes like it was a life decision, when he reached over me and grabbed the exact one I had been staring at. "Good choice," he said, smiling. I remember rolling my eyes. "You just stole my cereal," he laughed. "Or maybe I saved you from making the wrong decision. It was stupid. Simple." But we talked for almost 20 minutes right there between cereal and coffee. He was easy to talk to, confident but not arrogant, funny but not trying too hard. When he asked for my number, I didn't hesitate. That should have been my first clue, not because it was wrong, but because everything felt too easy. At first, Daniel was everything I thought I wanted. He planned dates, opened doors, sent those "did you eat?" texts that make you feel cared for. He used to say, "I just want to take care of you," and at the time, that sounded like love. We got married 2 years later. Small ceremony. Backyard wedding at his parents' house in the suburbs. String lights hanging from trees, soft music playing, the smell of barbecue and fresh-cut grass in the air. I remember looking around and thinking, this is it. This is what stability feels like. I felt safe. Or at least, I thought I did. The first change was so small I almost ignored it. We had just moved into our apartment. Boxes everywhere, that new place smell, paint, cardboard, and possibility. I was unpacking dishes when I put the plates in the cabinet above the sink. Daniel walked in, watched me for a second, then said, "Why would you put them there?" I shrugged. "It's easier to reach." He shook his head. "No, that doesn't make sense. They should go over here." I laughed a little. "It's not a big deal." He didn't laugh. "I'm just saying, there's a better way to do things." That sentence stayed with me, not because of what he said, but how he said it, like my way was wrong, like I needed correcting. After that, it became a pattern, small things at first. "How you fold towels is weird. Why do you talk like that sometimes? You're overreacting again." Each comment was light enough to brush off, but heavy enough to leave a mark, and the weirdest part, I started adjusting. I folded towels his way. I thought twice before speaking. I replayed conversations in my head, wondering if I had said something wrong. It was like living in a house where the floor keeps shifting under your feet, but no one else notices. Months passed. Then came the tone. That sharp edge in his voice that made my stomach drop before my brain could catch up. One night, I remember burning dinner. Nothing dramatic, just overcooked pasta. The kitchen smelled slightly bitter, like something that stayed on the stove too long. Daniel took one bite and set his fork down. "This is bad," he said flatly. "I can make something else," I replied quickly. He sighed, loud, annoyed. "It's like you don't even try. That one hurt. I worked all day," I said quietly. "I just got distracted." "You always have an excuse." Silence filled the room, thick, uncomfortable. I stared at my plate, blinking back tears, telling myself not to cry over pasta. Over time, it got worse. Not louder, just colder, more precise. "You're too emotional. You're lucky I'm patient with you. Most guys wouldn't deal with this." Those words didn't just hurt. They rewired how I saw myself. I started believing him. Maybe I was too much, too sensitive, too flawed. I remember one specific night that I still can't forget. It was winter, snow falling outside, quiet and heavy. The kind that makes everything look peaceful, even when it's not. Inside, the apartment felt tense. I had just gotten home from work, exhausted, my hands still cold from the walk from the train. Daniel was sitting on the couch. "Why didn't you answer my call earlier?" he asked without looking up. "I was in a meeting," I said, taking off my coat. "For 3 hours. I texted you. You always have a reason." There it was again. That tone, I felt my chest tighten. "I'm not doing anything wrong," I said, my voice shaking slightly. He finally looked at me, and the look on his face, it wasn't anger, it was disappointment, and somehow that felt worse. "You make everything difficult," he said. Something inside me went quiet, not broken, just quiet. Like a switch flipped. That night, I stood in the bathroom staring at my reflection. The fluorescent light was harsh, unforgiving. I looked tired, older than I felt. My shoulders were slightly hunched, like I was trying to take up less space. And for the first time, I asked myself a question I had been avoiding. When did I become this person? Because I used to be loud, confident. the kind of woman who laughed in grocery store aisles with strangers. Now I was careful, measured, afraid of saying the wrong thing in my own home. The realization didn't hit all at once. It crept in, slow, unavoidable. This wasn't love, this was control. The breaking point came on a random Tuesday. No big fight, no dramatic moment, just something small. I told him I was thinking about visiting my sister for the weekend. He looked up and said, "Why would you do that without asking me first?" I blinked. "I'm not asking permission. I'm just telling you." His expression changed instantly. "You're being disrespectful for wanting to see my family." And that's when it clicked. This wasn't going to change, not if I stayed that night. I didn't cry, I didn't argue. I just sat on the edge of the bed, feeling this strange calm settle over me, like my mind had finally made a decision my heart was too scared to admit. The next morning, I packed a bag, just essentials, clothes, documents, a few personal things. My hands were steady. That surprised me. When Daniel saw the bag, he frowned. "What is this?" "I'm leaving," I said. He laughed, actually laughed. "Jessica, be serious." "I am." "You'll be back," he said, shaking his head. "You always calm down." I looked at him, really looked at him. And for the first time, I didn't feel small. "I'm not coming back." The silence that followed felt different. He wasn't in control of it anymore. Walking out of that apartment felt unreal. The cold air hit my face, sharp and clean. I took a deep breath. And for the first time in a long time, it didn't feel restricted. It felt like oxygen. The weeks after that were messy. Healing isn't pretty. I cried in my sister's guest room. I questioned everything. I missed parts of him, the good parts. But slowly, those memories stopped hurting. I started noticing small things again. The taste of coffee in the morning, music that made me feel something other than anxiety, the sound of my own laughter, and it didn't sound forced anymore. One day, my sister asked me, "Do you regret it?" I thought about it, about the good moments, the bad ones, everything in between, and I shook my head. "No," I said. "I regret staying as long as I did." If you're listening to this, and you feel like you're shrinking in your own life, pay attention to that feeling. Love isn't supposed to feel like pressure. It's not supposed to make you question your worth every day. And it definitely isn't supposed to make you feel alone while you're standing right next to someone. Leaving was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it was also the moment I started becoming myself again. And now, I still go to grocery stores, still stand in the cereal aisle sometimes, but now, when I pick a box, I don't second-guess myself, and that might sound small, but for me, that's freedom.